What's up, guys? We're going to cover a number of issues I've been waiting to fix on Hefty for a long time, and you're going to see all that in this video. I noticed the car smoking at lights, and I realized it wasn't coming from the engine, so I finally got underneath it and took a look, and what do you know? The transmission has been leaking pretty bad. Here it is running, and you can see exactly what I'm talking about with all that smoke. Underneath Hefty right now, trying to evaluate where exactly all this leaking is coming from. It's kind of hard to tell at first. I'm not seeing anything significant coming off of the dipstick tube, that valve body area up there. But over here, I'm definitely seeing transmission fluid all around. The gasket, nothing was coming from the front here out of the pump shaft, which is a good thing. So it's not the pump shaft seal. So I might not need to pull this thing out. Maybe just my pan gasket bolts are loose, or maybe it's the speedo cable. Maybe it's one of these cooler lines. Something is very saucy under here. You can see where it's been burning off in the exhaust as I'm driving around, which is not the most pleasant thing in the world. So yeah, something here is pretty loose and it's causing us problems. So what or whom is the culprit? It looks pretty wet up here on the shift linkage. Very wet over here, and there's more burnt on the driver's side. So it's probably something over here. Maybe one of these return lines, like I said, or something up there. Let's further evaluate. So after further assessing, I'm really seeing nothing on the driver or the passenger side. Here on the driver's side, as we saw before, is the most, and there's a distinct line of burning fluid coming down this way. And this line, yeah, I know, guys, make fun of me all you need to, because this car is ugly underneath. Hefty's floors are literally paper wafers, okay? There's nothing there. This is hokey. This is the transmission cooler line right above the exhaust pipe with some heat wrap, which has been melting conveniently against the top of the exhaust pipe, so that needs to get fixed. But it might be this fitting, but we're definitely wet here on this cooler line, and this guy's wet and saucy too, so maybe these cooler lines are leaking. Again, make fun of me all you need to. I have not gotten to this part of Hefty. She's beautiful from the outside, but ugly underneath. My Swiss cheese floor, which is nothing, you can see where I put my foot through this probably at one point and wound up bending this cooler line down, and that's why it was sitting on this exhaust pipe, because I don't remember this sitting on there before. It used to float a little bit above it, and you can clearly see the darkest line of where all this has been gooing down and melting along the exhaust, spraying up over here. And that's probably because this line, which used to just be down here, and I pushed up on it and noticed the aluminum line coming out of it went back up, was bent, so it might have hurt the line inside this crimp fitting. So I'm gonna undo this, take a look at it, make sure the double flare is still good, and then this might have been, when this got bent down, caused it to not be sealing properly on the fitting somehow and was leaking there. So I bet this is what it is. And then to really test it for sure, we'll have to crank the car up, see what it does. But I think that's it, guys. So it's a lot simpler of a repair than I thought. I was thinking I was going to yank this whole transmission out. Found some other issues. My shifter pin is going into the linkage here, but it's missing the cotter pin at the bottom. So get a new cotter pin in there right now so that doesn't pop out, because if that does, I'll be heading down the road one day and lose shifting abilities and be wondering why. And that'll work. And then I'm checking these lines here on this tranny cooler. You know, super loose. Great. Well, that's probably really helping you, Frank. You can see here as it tightens and then it clicks past. And this happens sometimes with these clamps, is it'll be too small and it's gonna grab here and you'll see it loosen. I don't know if you guys can see that. And it's just spinning, it's not doing anything. And this guy here, he's actually working, but that one was loose too. So there's probably been some leaking going on there as well. Okay, yeah, that is nice. Mini screwdriver to the face. All right, I pulled off the bad clamp that was up here because it was just spinning, put a new one on it. So now both of these are super tight for this line. Now, show you guys this gem I found here. So, here's this other return line. You could see the outlet fitting is just fine, but this guy has got some weird piece of something sticking in the middle of it, some aluminum or I don't know what. So we're gonna pull this off because right here is rubber line and this is aluminum line to this fitting. So let's pull this off and see what the heck is going on with this thing. And that's probably our problem right there. All right, guys, so I've got no idea how that happened, but there's like aluminum from maybe when this was flared stuck right dead center of this cooler line, which has probably been dramatically reducing the ability for it to cool and you know, flow through there effectively. And maybe this has led to that leaking going on. So I got that piece of whatever the heck out of the middle of this line. It's a piece of aluminum, but it's definitely not from this flared line because I don't see anywhere that would have come from. And the flare actually still looks really good on here. Sure, it's not the best piece, but honestly, as you guys have seen with Hefty, I'm not going for 100% perfect. I think this might still work. This though must have come from inside the transmission, I would imagine, and then have been flushed out through that line and creating a blockage. So maybe it was creating an immense amount of pressure right there at that line. It was surpassing the little clamp or something. That's my best guess. So again, we're gonna try putting it back together and test it out, and we'll see tomorrow for sure whether it's smoking at lights or not. But yeah, that's pretty interesting. I wonder where from inside the transmission that could have come from. Kind of scary too. All right, it's reinstalled. We're gonna call this a night. We'll see what it's like in the morning. But that's it. Everything's nice and tight now. I think we got it, guys. Got it. But now, of course, I have no idea why my gauges are all out. My tack and my lower gauges. AM's still working. What the hell happened? Okay, and the wires got loose under there. Gauges are fixed. Boys, we did it. What a hell of a night. Oh, man. Little oil catch can off of Amazon for 25 bucks. Down here I can put a little drain valve, inlet outlet lines, and then up top it's got a little breather, and then this is going to help catch all that blow-by excess oil that comes out of this guy, because it's been kind of spitting out a little bit onto the valve cover and the fenders. Got the PCV over here. say choo-choo. Oh man. Drawing vapors back into the crankcase through the carburetor. And this one here, like I said, it's gonna kick out just a little bit of oily mist sometimes when I really get on it. So I'm gonna get rid of this and replace it with that catch can, which is gonna get a smaller little line going to a hose, and I'll probably mount it maybe over here or over there. We'll find a spot. It's a nasty little leak coming out of the thermostat housing gasket for a while. So I'm gonna pop that off tonight and replace that too. This is always a fun, messy job right in the driveway, but it's a necessity to get the thermostat housing out and then go ahead and get this new gasket installed. Hit a little ultra black around it because this is a cast piece and it's a little bit pitted and uneven on this surface here on the top side where the gasket's going to mount up to the thermostat housing. It's actually pretty good, so I'm not going to put anything on that side. All right, that's going back on now. Fingers crossed that this does the job. All right, this thing's all set up now with the little bleeder valve on the bottom, inlet outlet, and the breather up top. So now I'm gonna find where I wanna put it, and then we can run our hose. I think that's looking pretty good. Just gonna get the top put on it, and then that'll wrap up this oil separator right here. This thing's pretty nifty. I hope it really works. To see once I get the car up to temp, pull over, pop the hood and see if there's any vapor coming out anymore or if it's looking like we're pretty much sealed up now. But I think that's gonna do it, guys. Another quick tech tip. For those of you that have a carburetor like an AFB style like this, Edelbrock, or anything similar where you've got little extra vacuum lines that you plug up that you're not using, over time those little rubber stoppers actually get dry rotted and then they'll wind up cracking and creating a vacuum leak. So always check them every so often and put new ones on, because here you can see the one that, this is the one that was on one of them and it completely separated. And then this is the bottom side of the one that was just there. So from the top side it looked fine, but the bottom was cracked open and it was definitely creating a little bit of a vacuum leak. Hit the RTV on both sides. Now we'll get the gasket installed. Word of caution to you guys, if you want to use one of these Chinesium, Taiwanesium thermostat housings, don't do it. They don't last at all. And I should have known better, but I learned my lesson here on my own, and I've read a lot about it online since and seen a lot of people talk about these. So the problem is they don't really sit very flush. You can see where I hit this with a block sander. It actually cleaned up out here and on here on this edge, but you can see all the dirtiness still where it kind of crowns in the middle. It doesn't seat well, and then over time it expands up and they wind up leaking. So now I've replaced it with a OEM style thermostat housing, which is what I should have just done in the first place. But you know, you want to make things look cool and hot roddy, you put your shiny stuff on there and you think, oh yeah, great, this is just a simple piece, right? Not always. You just gotta buy quality sometimes or go with the OEM stuff. So avoid these at all costs, because those could really lead to you having a big headache like me, having to replace this. And then when you pop this off, it gushes out coolant everywhere and it's just a whole mess. I just popped it up and looked and made sure that it was all gooey and sticky and it grabbed all the way around, so we're sealing really good. And it actually matches the color of the engine, so that's gonna be a win, we hope, fingers crossed. Replacing these thermostat housings is a really simple job, minus the whole mess that it makes. So anyway, I hope that helps with you guys. And also to update you, last night when I installed this oil catch can, I left the breather up top, and then when I went into the car and drove it around, I noticed on my AEM wideband, my engine had definitely leaned out a lot, almost like 16, 18 to 1. So way lean, that's because it was creating a vacuum leak up here. So I plugged that with this cap, so now it's just gonna be running the correct circuit into there, into the PCV, and not create that extra vacuum, which then leans it out going in down here at the base of the carburetor down into the intake. So learned from that little mistake as well. Didn't hurt anything. The car still actually ran pretty good, all things considered, but it was just a hair too lean and not really what it needs to be doing. So there it is, just letting this set up, and then I'm gonna torque this down, and hopefully, fingers crossed, this one doesn't leak, because redid that one last night, and what do you know, it leaked again. So learn from me. And as I was sanding this here on this block, you can clearly see where it's getting shiny, which means it's low and touching, but all of this stuff here is still high. So right there, right here is pretty bad. Over here,
all that stuff. It's just these two outer edges that are really making contact, and then everything else in the middle is still kind of crowned up. All right, guys, we're pretty successful here. We're warm, we're getting up to temp. Not seeing any leaking going on. Looks like we did it. Additionally, with adding in this oil catcher, like I said, it really leaned out the idle. We were at like 17, 18 before. Now I got it back down to about 14 and a half. So I had to adjust the idle mixer screws to the bottom of the carburetor, which then brought the idle up. So then I brought the idle pitch down a little bit. We'll test that out, see how it does driving around. But I am really happy. I think we got it. All right, guys, one big final update. Yeah, I know I parked really bad. But anyway, second gear was getting really weak on the car lately, and I was worried after having the transmission get a little bit low recently with all the leaking that I really killed the tranny. It might have hurt some stuff, but I did a little bit of research and found out that you can adjust the second gear band on the side of the transmission just where the shifter linkage is. Went underneath the car, loosened the adjuster nut with a 3/4 inch, and then you've got a smaller nut that you actually go all the way into 72 inch-pounds, then you adjust it back out, I think 2.5 turns. I did mine at 2. Tighten that adjuster nut. Holy crap, it freaking bang shifts again into second gear. It's a solid slam. So I don't know how long it's gonna last for, but Hefty is back smacking gears around town. Heck yeah, guys. Third of throttle too. So you can see how nice and firm it shifts into second again. Throws you back in the seat, even at low RPM. That adjustment was absolutely awesome.
As always, thank you guys for tuning in. We'll catch you on the next crazy video.